I don't know where Freeman's at. I have not seen him, but Marilyn's right out here. She's coming in. And
we're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand at this time as we are led in prayer by Councilperson Sims. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilperson Keith will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Precious and mighty God, we just thank you so much that you chose to wake us this morning. Thank you for clothing us in our right mind. Thank you, we know because we move, we have our being because of you. We ask, oh God, that you would bless the time we have here together. We ask, oh God, whatever it is that you intend to go forth tonight, that it would go so, and that you be pleased by what occurs. And we'll be always sure to give you the praise, the glory, and honor that's due your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from December 2nd, 2019. Return showing service of notice to property owners of special assessments for the Waterloo Road project per resolution 302, 2019. Return showing service of notice to the property owners of special assessment for the Waterloo Road project per resolution 301, 2019. Correspondence from Pro Bell Enterprises Limited. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're going to have to hear those again. I'm sorry, minutes. Council convened a regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. All members were present except Amobian, later excused. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved with a vote of 12-0. Reading of petitions and communications, passage of the consent agenda, report of standing and special committees, passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions, representation from various departments and division, public speaking period, no further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 7:42 to reconvene a regular session on December 2nd, 2019, or a special call.
Any corrections or additions?
Motion approved.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it with one abstention.
Okay.
Letters, petitions, and communications.
Return showing service of notice to property owners of special assessments for the Waterloo Road per resolution number 302, 2019.
File.
Return showing service of notice to property owners of special assessments for Waterloo Road per resolution number 301, 2019.
File.
Correspondence from Pro Bell Enterprises Limited informing they have supplied or will supply services, equipment, and or materials in connection with the Akron Children's Hospital Critical Care Tower, 177 West Exchange.
File. Before you, you have the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We don't have any public hearings this evening, so we will move right into our old business. Rules, Councilperson Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. Under rules, this afternoon, we made a decision to file a few of our items, and I'm looking for it now. But number one, under rules, was a resolution urging the Ohio Secretary of State, and we decided to file number one. Thank you. You can keep that out there. I might need another handy there. And on number two, this was an ordinance amending and supplementing Title III. We pulled that and filed that, and I apologize for number one. Let me go back. For number one, the resolution urging the Ohio Secretary of State and the Ohio General Assembly to create a process by which independent, nonpartisan voters may vote in a political party's primary without declaring for that party and declaring an emergency. That one was filed. Number two, ordinance amending and supplementing Title III, Administration, Chapter 30, Mayor and Council, Section 30.11, limits on monetary and in-kind contribution and loans of the Akron codified ordinances and declaring an emergency. That one is not on your paper
Councilperson
today.
Keith, I'm sorry, I'm not sure where you are, because
That
my
one
item
was-
number one is different than yours.
Oh,
Item number one is resolution setting forth timing and process of the
I'm
organizational
reading off
meeting.
of two. Okay. That resolution was filed. Number one is filed. I'm sorry. Number one, we are in favor of that. It was suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Thank you.
That really is what it is, everyone. So it was, the committee found this report favorable, and we are requesting suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
I think I've said enough, so I'm going to just
Perfect.
let us go for the vote.
Thank you. Okay, the rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
And number
Right.
2 and 3 under rules were filed.
Okay.
And this is the one that I'm reading from November the 18th. I was
Excuse me,
reading
Madam
that
Chair, we
one.
didn't vote
So,
on, we didn't vote on that last one.
I'll tell you, I'm just going to town with gangbusters here. Number 1, we need to vote on. It was suspension of rules with favorable report. I'll let you call for the vote.
Okay, we just took the vote. You need to do the roll call.
That's what I wanted. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Sikorsky.
All right. Councilperson Keith?
Okay. There was a question today in rules about an ordinance that had been filed, and it was inadvertently filed. This was an ordinance amending and supplementing Title III, Administration, Chapter 30, Mayor and Council, Section 30.11, limits on monetary and in-kind contributions and loans of the Akron codified ordinances and declaring an emergency. This was submitted in July 22nd of 2019. We would like to vote on that next week. It was inadvertently filed and should not have been. Can't imagine why after what I just went through. But having said that, that's it for rules. There was nothing new to come before us.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilman Fusco, did you have something? Okay, thank you. We'll now move into planning. Councilman Fusco.
Thank you, President Somerville. Excuse me, the first item, the request of the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is reference TIF legislation that will help with regards to funding of public improvements in support of a property on Home Avenue, one in which we're all familiar with. We previously voted on a construction agreement, a development agreement with this organization. It's the formerly known as the sewer maintenance building on Home Avenue, and now it's in a private developer's hands. And this is simply the TIF legislation that is we're applying to the state of Ohio for approval on the TIF that will then generate the income stream. And it's also important to note that that will come to the city of Akron. So with that, we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The committee's report is favorable. The rules have been suspended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Councilman Fusco,
Time on the balance.
time will be granted.
Mr. Chairman, you had the item on 795. You want to continue to take time? There was a temporary time? Okay.
We'll now move into public utilities. Councilperson Samples.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the first one, consent. And on the second one, we'll continue to take time.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move into our new business.
Okay. One second here. Okay. Item A, offered by Councilperson Neal, ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title III Administration, Chapter 30, Mayor and Council, Section 3011, limits on monetary and in-kind contributions and loans of the Akron codified ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Councilperson Keith, I think you already gave us an explanation. Do you have anything further comments on this item? Councilperson Keith? No, you don't. Sponsor, Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just asked, since it's been a while since we've had discussion, there was some supporting documentation that came in with the original legislation. It referenced I believe it was the February article outlined in the Beacon that raised question to it. I'm going to leave something with the clerk, another editorial that was actually in the Beacon about a month ago relating to the same thing, so that everyone can have the information and we can come to a vote next week. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Are you just going to take time?
Yes.
All right. Okay, item 0, offered by Freeman, ordinance. Amending ordinance number 93, 2019, passed March 25th, 2019, and ordinance number 275, 2019, passed September 30th, 2019, which established the annual appropriation for the current expenses or other expenditures and the capital outlays of the city of Akron for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman?
Committee has requested this item be placed on consent agenda, and with that, we'd also ask any council members that would have questions about these appropriations to contact Ms. Donnell before next Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 1, offered by Fusco and Keith, ordinance authorizing the purchase of 1762 Merriman Road for the Merriman Valley Train Depot project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, the request of the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, I'd like to yield any comments to the co-sponsor, Marilyn Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam President. This particular area in the Merriman Valley Road area, the businesses collectively tried to come together a number of years ago and have successfully done that in the last 3 years. They've done a lot of work themselves, so this is not something that hasn't been given a lot of thought with a lot of input and vision. In fact, the first meeting of the Great Streets, there were over 50 business people in that room wanting to add their piece of what they would like to see down the valley. They have finally come together. They are doing things down there on their own with their own money, but now this has come before us that there's an opportunity for us to actually, what I like to say is massage this gem of an area that has never been really looked at as closely as it needs to be, and the true spirit of it brought forward. This is just another piece of it that's going to help our entire city of Akron, the number of businesses that are down there that will reap benefit from having a train stop down there. Even though it is sometime in the future, we will be able to say we took our first step to really bring this valley to life again like it should be. And it's I believe, the most beautiful part of Akron, where the metro and our national parks come together with the Cauga River. So having said that, I want to thank everybody that has been behind the scenes working so hard on that. But more importantly, it's these businesses that are down the valley that believe in each other and have come together to say this is what we want to see. So with that, I thank the chairman for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 2, offered by Fusco, ordinance approving and confirming the reappointment of Scott Rowland to the vacant Commercial and Industrial Building Appeals Board and declaring emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Samples, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to participate in the Water Resource Restoration Sponsor Program and to enter into a sponsorship agreement with the entities listed in the Exhibit A for the sponsorship of environmental restoration and preservation projects under the WRRSP and declaring emergency.
Councilperson Samples?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we are asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Nothing?
No further comment? All right. The rules have been suspended and the committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Keith, Kamer, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay, item number 4, offered by Kilby, ordinance approving and confirming the reappointments of Rodney Bowden, Emily Freeman Cooper, Lynetta Jones, Kathy Wilkins, Pamela Williams to the Housing Appeals Board and declaring an emergency.
Councilperson Samples?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee would like for this to go on the consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda. We will now move to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to council during this time, you may approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, give us your full name and your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Hi, I'm Fatima Rita, 967 Concord Avenue, Akron, Ohio. I have owned rental property in Akron for at least 35 years, and I'm very unhappy with the way the city handles the water bills. I have a tenant that has a $645 water bill, and you only make her pay like $225 to keep her from shutting off. I would like to propose something. I know you're not going to put in a tenant's name, so the compromise would be something like the first month, if they don't pay it, they can go to the second month. And the second month, they have to pay the first and the second. They have to pay 100% of the water bill, or it gets shut off with it like a 7-day notice. And in order to get it back on, they have to pay the full amount that's past due before they can have the water turned on. Because I'm sick and tired, and I'm a member of the Akron Canton Real Estate Investors group, and we have at least 60 people come to our meetings of people that don't pay their water bills, and like, if she didn't pay this water bill, there's another $200 that's going to come up in another week, and by the time she moves out, there's going to be another month's water bill. So we're going to be close to maybe $1,000 in this particular case. So I think it's only fair that you hold the tenant more responsible. Don't just let them pay a couple $100 and keep going on and on and on. They need to pay it in full or get shut off. I believe Cuyahoga Falls does the same thing. I don't know the exact details, but they'll shut you off, they'll shut the water off or the electric off, and you have to pay the bill in full before you could have it turned back on in your name. I think you don't go to Walmart and buy something and not pay for it, and it's not right that you make the landlord have to pay for it or put it on their tax bill. So I would like it if you could do something about this. I'm willing to work with somebody here. Like I said, we get 50, 60 people come to our real estate group. I can have a whole bunch of those people come here and say the same thing and filibuster. No, just kidding.
Thank you, Mrs. Arita. I'm sure after the meeting, there'll be some council members who'll be willing to speak with you, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening, council members. I hope you all had a chance to see the tree that we had down at the John S. Knight Center. I brought a couple of the tow trucks that we had. It was decorated very nicely. We had nice lights, lots of bows and tinsels and ornaments, and some nice spray. The tree sold the first night for $450. It was a very nicely decorated and themed tree, towing tree. It was very nice. I hope you all had a chance to look and see it. It raised some money for $450 it sold for Children's Hospital. So it was a very nice tree and a very nice event. Again, I'm Carol with Team Towing and Service, and we provide 40% of the towing services to AAA, the 100,000 members in Akron that the AAA has. We also provide towing to the post office, as well as Ohio Highway Patrol and several private entities. Many of you have AAA. I know I've spoken to several of you that have told me that our company, have provided service to you all as well. So with that, I'd like to say that I've received quite a bit of, I've been tagged quite a bit on the parade this past weekend, and questioning why we didn't have a truck in the parade. And I would be honored to be able to represent the city of Akron in that way. As I said before, I've been born and raised here, and I'm very happy to be able to be providing that large of a percent of towing for AAA and for the Akron residents. Also employ almost 30 people that also live in Akron, and their children go to school in Akron, and I'd be honored to have a truck in one of the parades, and I can assure you that I would make you all proud with my decorations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Crane, for sharing. Is there anyone else here in the audience that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening. I'm Attorney John Wesley Sharp, attorney and counsel at law. I wanted to introduce myself to counsel and tell you you'll be hearing from me in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period? Seeing and hearing now, we will close our public comment period and move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilperson Keith. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilperson Keith. Public Utilities, Councilperson Samples. Public Safety, Councilperson Keith. 215. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. 145. Housing, Councilman Kilby. 330. Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. 230. Economic Development, Councilperson Sims. 45. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky.
12:30.
Is there anything else coming before council? Councilperson Samples?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Briefly, I just wanted to stand and publicly say that the City of Akron nor this council had anything to do with this weekend's parade and the decorations from Miller's Towing. For us who are on social media, it has taken on a life of its own, and the city seems to be getting blamed for what another outside entity has done, and that we did not even know about. And to now that it's being sent and generated by iHeart, which most of us know as iHeart Radio, is very concerning because they're such a big network, and for them to be showing this picture of the Grinch be hung off the back of a truck, whether it was by a noose or by a metal cable, it looks as if an individual has been hung by the truck, and it was in our parade where children saw it, families saw it, and even when the parade organizers checked each and every individual in the parade, for whatever reason, they didn't have theirs on display until it actually got into the parade, which is very concerning and disturbing that someone who actually has a contract with this city would do something so disturbing on a day that was supposed to be joyous, and this is what we're being known for, the Grinch being hung by a tow truck. So I publicly wanted to address to the citizens of Akron that the City of Akron knew nothing of it. We had nothing to do with it, nor would we condone such a thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Samples. Councilperson Amobian, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Madam President. Sorry for the delay. There are several things I want to mention. I've not heard about that. I was talking to Councilman Freeman about that, trying to get the details. Anyway, I got some good news, and some of you have already heard about it, because I guess it's been on the media. But let me just share with you that those of us who attended the NLC in San Antonio have a lot to be extremely proud of. I think you may have heard that Councilman Russ Neal is president-elect of NBC Leo, which is a major constituency group of NLC. And in a year or two, I think it's next year, he will be hosting hundreds of people from outside of this city in our very own city of Akron. And I hope that we all will be proud enough to be a part of that celebration. The NBC Leo is the largest constituency group of NLC. We have nearly 500 members, and there are multiple constituency groups. Additionally, Councilman Neal is the co-vice chair of REAL, Race, Equity, and Leadership. And I happened to see him in action because he put me on the council as well, so I'm serving on there with him. What we had at the NLC City Summit meeting in San Antonio, we had the chief equity officers from some of the major cities in the United States who came and sat with us for more than an hour talking about the initiatives they've done in their cities, and it was quite informative. And what we will be experiencing next Thursday is the National League of Cities President Karen Freeman Wilson, is it? Wilson, I think it is. She's coming from Gary, Indiana, and she'll be giving a speech down at either Quaker Station, I think. She's our luncheon speaker on next Thursday. And if you have the opportunity to come, it is one of her initiatives as president, and she did a phenomenal job as president. So if you could come, that'd be fantastic. Additionally, our Councilwoman Samples is on the NLC Big Board. She's been appointed for 2 years, and and I have been reappointed to the Women's Board. Just to let you know that these are some good things that are happening to our city leadership that is experienced and appreciated by the national leaders who attend that conference. And you're talking about thousands of people who are coming from city councils and all over the place from the United States of America. So this is very exciting, and I'm very proud to be a part of these individuals. The bad news that I have, and I want to send this message out, and I'm not sure what we do about it, but I think most of us heard about this case that's being heard by the U.S. Supreme Court, and it's about carrying guns. Apparently, there are some individuals in the city of New York who they're allowed to carry guns to some shooting ranges or whatever, but they can't carry them out of the state and to some other entities. They appealed the decision because they didn't like that, and it has gotten all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, from what I've heard on television, this is a very unusual case because the local elected officials or the state elected officials have withdrawn their restrictions, and there is no case for them to appeal to have a discussion at the U.S. Supreme Court. And those who have reported on this on the news is saying that this is highly unusual for the U.S. Supreme Court to hear such a case. They all believe it's an effort by those on the U.S. Supreme Court to expand the carrying of guns and weapons through in various entities. So I'm not really sure what we can do about it, but I know that we can contact our elected officials at the state level, at the U.S. Congress level, and maybe they can give us some direction. But I know that media, the mass media that we have, we can flood the U.S. Supreme Court with phone calls, texts, or whatever to tell them not to hear this case. We do not need any more guns on our streets, and we know that. And we already know that it is a health issue for all these guns that we have. And the last thing we need is for them to be expanding the carrying of weapons to churches and parks and whatever else that they may do. So if you can contact your local elected officials or state elected officials to find out what we can do to get the message to the U.S. Supreme Court justices to let them know we do not want them hearing this case, we do not want them ruling on this case, and it doesn't make any sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilperson Mobian. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First I've heard of what Councilwoman Mosley Samples shared. I think it's easy as a city. If it's as clear-cut as what she shared, we need to cancel any contract they have with the city. Should be no question, should be no hesitation by the administration, no hesitation by this council. Secondly, I just want to share something, and Madam Chair, Madam President, you would know, and I know Mr. Somerville would know, when we started our, and Mr. Valley, if he's here, when we started our summer lawn program, we started it with Cornelius Benson. That's right. And I was sad to see that on Thanksgiving Day, I guess he passed away unexpectedly. So at the end of council, if we could just take a moment, for those of you who don't know, Cornelius Benson and his organization, Kings and Queens, was the first grassroots community organization to do the lawn cutting with the city and helped us break that program in. And as we continue to expand it, he and his family and his organization will always have a small part of history because they started it over in your ward in the Summit Lake area. That's so right. Please keep Cornelius Benson, his wife's name is Tamara? Tamara. Keep them in prayer, please. And then also, I know, we spoke this afternoon about clearing our docket, and I understand that. Of course, I share my concern, but it made me think of, what's happened over this four-year term, our first four-year term, and some of the things that are still lingering that we need to address as a council. We need to either, as this body, cement them that if we can't finish them and close them out this term, we carry them over so that they don't continue to linger. And these are just some of the things. Ms. Carroll that's come down and over the last, I don't know how many years, I think since 2016, asking us to do something about the towing contract. Mr. Noem, who just gave up, asking us to do something about the retirees and their health care. We were working with City Council. This goes back, I think, to when Gary Moneypenny was still here. We were trying to work on, again, the blanket insurance policy so that our constituents could have easier access to the community learning centers. We've been talking about the water bill, just trying to get a handle on the basic water bill fees. The budget online, we passed that legislation. I think it's, with us over a third of council turning over, now is a great time for us to address that. I've got a letter from my state rep, Minority Leader Amelia Sykes, asking me to have input in the budget, what budget projects I want. And they bring where I can see the, every year they bring where I can see the budget online. We're stepping into the year 2020. I mean, there is no more future. The future is here. We're just holding things back. We need to catch up. And then, more importantly, you know, that ever-ending discussion about equity. I looked at the plan that came through, and you know, I see that word a lot. It's imperative that this council understands as we go to shape legislation that we have an understanding of what equity means. Some of the things that we've asked about, and this goes back to when we have legislation and things on the docket. I think from time to time, different ones of us have been asking, what type of policy have we changed when it comes to seasonal workers who have been with the city for over 10 years, 15 years? They want to work full-time, but they haven't been employed. We're still trying to find out about the procurement contracts. What are the percentage of minority and black businesses that do business with the city? We've been asking that question since before these 4 years. So, I mean, you've seen where I abstained from the approving the minutes, because minutes are the official documents of what business we transact. And I've said it's going to be challenging for new members that come in to find out how we transact the business, to ask 5 different people to look at tapes. And each one of them are going to get their different interpretation on how we handle business.
They're discs, sir.
It's disc, tapes. You know, it's cumbersome at best. I mean, our meetings are televised, are videotaped. We need to improve on that. There's software that does that. I noticed when we had the very sensitive meeting about cell towers, they had a stenographer here taking minutes. So, I mean, these are just some of the things that stand as we finish this session, prepare to move into another one, especially since we're talking about clearing our docket of some legislation that has rested. I think as a council, we need to at least address these items that have come across the public comment, asking us to assist them, and some of the things that we've all touched on from time to time, but we've never had a time to address them. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Anything else coming before this body? Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there
to adjourn?
Seeing no objections, we're adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.